All right. Do we need to take a little break ourselves, or we want to roll?
I can roll if you're
Let's
good to
roll.
go, Matt.
So David, it looks like 80. What is it? 6%. Wrote over my notes. And people in Iceland are already on the 4 hour, 4 day, not 4 hour,
4 hour a week would be great too.
the 4 day work week.
That's the goal. Yeah, I mean, this is an exciting story, and we wanted to note it here. It's something that makes a lot of sense, I think, intuitively to people. That a significant amount of time at the workplace could functionally be reduced, meaning that you have more time to spend with your family and your friends, listening to shows like Left Reckoning at patreon.com/Left Reckoning, playing music, cooking food, living your damn life.
Playing old
And
Wild West card games that have gone extinct, like I've been researching lately.
go on for days and days and days. Um, but I mean, basically the idea that, the 40-hour a week work week is something that was constructed. And it was something that was developed in a very particular set of circumstances to benefit a very specific group of people, namely the bourgeoisie and the ruling class, right? And remember, I mean, the 40-hour work week was a victory against essentially a 7-day a week work week, right? Where you had no time to yourself. And there's been a lot of people who have made arguments for a long time that as we get more advanced technologically, that hopefully that would mean that people will be liberated from work. Unfortunately, the deck of power has been stacked so much in favor of those who benefit from extracting a value from labor and from workers that has been the case. So all of the gains of technological advancement have gone to the very, very few. But still, this idea that we could be working less is obviously extremely inspiring. And we have some proof now that it works. A long time, years-long study in Iceland, in a small country, it should be noted, but a significant country nonetheless, that between 2015 and 2019, a UK-based think tank called Autonomy ran this study, basically shifting workers in Iceland to a 4-day work week. And I believe now 86% of workers in Iceland are now on this schedule, and it has found that not only does productivity not go down, it goes up along with happier people who are living fuller lives, people who are self-reporting that they're healthier, all while not seeing any reductions in their wages. That's a critical thing, by the way, with the 4-day work week reduction, is that less work with no cuts in pay.
Right.
And what we're seeing right now is that this kind of fear that it would not be beneficial for for capital have been proven to be incorrect. And we're seeing more and more, pushes for this in Spain and in other countries as well. Do you have anything top line here before? Because I want to make a good structural point, though, about the 4-day work week, too.
Oh, I mean, my real brief point is Magic Johnson should step out and be the spokesperson for the 32-hour work week. He could put his number 32 front and center. That's my top line. I like the idea of a 32-hour work week.
I mean, the 32-hour work week, I mean, the fact is that it works, and it works even by like capital's prerogatives too, right? I think as socialists, though, we shouldn't lean too hard into that, because here's the thing, is that while we're seeing the opening in countries like Iceland and in places where there have been years and years and years of militant labor organizing, like in northern Spain, something like that coming to the United States would require us, working people across this country, demanding it. And I think if we demand it, we shouldn't do it on capital's terms, right? So like, yes, it's very, very exciting, right? And it's a good thing to be able to point out like, oh, this doesn't hurt workers' productivity, right? We're still able to produce the same amount of things that we did. But I would also just go as far to say is like, even if it weren't the case that it helped out capital's bottom line, this would be something that is beneficial for us, because we need to understand that the labor fight is not just for higher wages, it's for more autonomy over our own lives.
Yeah.
And the way that our lives have been set up under industrial capitalism is that your life is effectively dominated by the needs of the bosses, and that shouldn't be the case. We don't need it as a society to have people working that many hours a week. And in fact, we can live better and more fulfilling lives and also meet a lot more of our external needs too, without relying on a 4-day work week. I mean, sorry, on a 5-day work week, and moving to a 4-day, or even ideally to less than that as well.
Yeah, it's a more extreme version of the 5 for 15, really. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but those things are connected, right? Is like what I'm trying to get at. It's like the same way that like you should be getting more pay for the hours that you're spending at work. You should understand that the right to be at work less is also a part of the labor struggle, right? This is like old school Marxism. Is that the two things that the capitalist tries to do is tries to extend the workday and to limit the pay per hour. That's like the first sign of labor squeezes. And more people are realizing that the pay is too little at work. But we also need to start making the second demand that the hours are too long.
Absolutely.
And it makes sense intuitively that people are much more productive. But we don't want to fall into like a trap where we're working less, but like, we have more surveillance and more expectations on ourselves when we're at work, and we lose other provisions that we got, like sick days and lunch hours and things like that, right? This is an extremely exciting thing to now have this study done that you can just point to it and say, look, what we're doing right now doesn't even make sense by your own standards, and then use that as a kind of springboard to start demanding more.
I mean, it's the best use of the government to give you time for not serving capitalists, right? And this is why like education is so good, irrespective of whatever fucking program and content is in that school, in the books, whatever fucking books there are. As long as you don't have to be out fucking busting your ass to put money into a capitalist pocket, to win.
And also, I just wanted to note one more thing about this study too. It's like, I know some folks will like to make the arguments like, well, Iceland is so small compared to the United States. I think, there's truth to that. But let's also remember the saturation of the policy in the country. It's 86%, right? So yes, it's a smaller country, but that's an incredible amount of people who are now operating on the new terms.
Right. Let's get to 50%.
Get to 15%, right? You know what I mean? Like the fact is that this model can work on a large scale, and that's the point there. This can work on a systemic level, and we could very easily do this in the United States as well. There's no doubt about it, especially when we're in a context right now of more and more people wanting jobs that have better benefits and higher wages, right? That instead of trying to make one person be the only person who holds down a job in a specific industry, right? Spread that around 2 or 3 people, right? You can do a lot for unemployment by sharing jobs without cutting people's pay, right? So don't cut anybody's pay and bring more people into the economy in that way. But instead of having one person doing the work effectively of like 5 folks, have 5 people doing that work and paying them all, the same amount for one person doing 40 hours a week. There's enough slack in the United States economy to do that, and it would make for a hell of a lot better life for all of us. And these are the kind of, I want to use the word utopian just because that's like the filler, but these are practical solutions to a lot of our problems.
Right. Here's a, so, we like, what's his name? Keynes was big on like, eventually the economy is going to develop.
Keynes thought by this time we'd be doing this.
Yeah. Here's just a stat of Edmund S. Morgan, who wrote American Slavery, American Freedom on the Virginia colony. At the time of European arrival, it took 24 hours of labor a year to feed yourself in corn for Native Americans. So just to say, like, wow, there's maybe better ways that we can be doing some of this stuff.
Yes, I think there's really no doubt about it at this point.
All right.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for making this happen. Episode 27 was a fun one. Victor is going to be joining us in just a couple minutes. It'll be fun. I think Victor, we've had somebody for the post game before, but I'm trying to remember.
We had Burgess or
we may have
Joshua,
had Burgess, but Victor,
sure,
Victor is our first international post game guest.
There you go.
So you guys can bother him with your questions about Joe Biden, etc. Remember, join us to get access to post game along with our bonus episodes. We have a really fun conversation we did with Andrew Hartman this week on the culture war and the history of culture war in America. I will say, hat off to Matt. He really killed it with that interview. Definitely check that out. To get access to that, join us at patreon.com/leftreckoning. Remember, if you want to ask us questions in the post game, you can do that in the Discord by going to live discussion and adding mod. We'd love to hear some y'all's thoughts and questions, especially ones for Victor. So join us there in just a couple of minutes.